You won't last a day, the housekeeper warned me as I stepped into the Hamilton mansion, but I didn't have the luxury of fear. Not with my mother dying, my sister's tuition due, and an eviction notice that gave me 72 hours to pull off a miracle. Then I met them. Theo, Leo, Matthew, and Timmyo. 4 identical alpha boys with deceptive smiles and their father's cold eyes, already sizing me up like wolves circling wounded prey. Pierre Hamilton appeared in the doorway behind them. The billionaire alpha who'd buried his husband 6 years ago, and his heart right along with him. And the look in his eyes told me he'd already decided I was going to fail. What he didn't know was that I wasn't here to survive their games. I was here to win, and failure wasn't something I could afford. Hey, welcome to Imagine BL Story. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really encourages my work and helps me bring you more stories. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's story. 24 hours earlier, I was Saurin Bernard, a professional failure. 3 jobs, 0 future, and a bank account that laughed at the concept of double digits. I'd been awake 36 hours straight, diner, convenience store, delivery route, and tasted copper in my mouth. The eviction notice on my door gave me 3 days. I sat on my mattress and stared at my phone. 13 missed calls from my sister, Amelie. 5 voicemails I couldn't bring myself to listen to because I already knew what they'd say. Mom's treatment isn't working. We need more money. I sent every penny I made back home to Marseille. Every single penny. And it still wasn't enough. My phone buzzed. Amelie, Papa's debts are catching up. They came to the house again. Maman had another episode. Saurin, I'm scared. Something inside me cracked. I opened my job search app with shaking hands. Then I saw it. Urgent. Live-in nanny position. Competitive salary. Immediate start. Hamilton Estate. The salary listed made my vision blur. That was 6 months of my combined income. That was my mother's treatment. That was Amelie's tuition. That was getting my father's creditors off our backs. I clicked on the posting. Seeking an experienced nanny for 4 children. Ages 6. Must be patient, resilient, and discreet. Previous applicants need not reapply. Private estate, live-in position required. Omega preferred. Of course, rich alphas always preferred Omega caregivers. Something about our natural nurturing instincts, our calming pheromones. I'd spent my whole life trying to prove I was more than my designation, and here I was, desperate enough to use it as a selling point. I scrolled down and found a news article, Hamilton Estate, where nannies go to quit. Local billionaires' revolving door of childcare raises questions. Pierre Hamilton, 32 years old, self-made billionaire, tech genius who'd made his first million at 23. Married young to Julian Beaumont, his childhood sweetheart. Picture-perfect life until 6 years ago when Julian died during childbirth, leaving Pierre with quadruplet alpha sons and a heart that apparently turned to ice overnight. The article listed the nanny count, 33 in 4 years. None lasted long. The reasons varied: difficult children, impossible employer, hostile work environment. Every rational part of my brain screamed at me to close the app. But rational Saurin had the luxury of options. Desperate Saurin did not. I applied and hit submit. My phone rang 2 hours later. Saurin Bernard? A woman's voice, crisp and professional. This is Mrs. Kim, household manager for the Hamilton Estate. Your application was flagged for immediate review. Can you come in for an interview today? Yes, absolutely. When? 2 hours. I'll text you the address. Don't be late, Mr. Bernard. Mr. Hamilton doesn't tolerate tardiness. I had 2 hours to make myself presentable enough to convince a billionaire alpha to trust me with his children. When I got to the gate of the estate, I pressed the bell. The intercom crackled. Mr. Bernard? Come in. The gate swung open. Before I could knock, the door opened. Mrs. Kim stood there, 60s, kind eyes, no-nonsense expression. She looked me up and down, clocking everything. You won't last a day, she said quietly. I stepped inside anyway. The foyer was bigger than my entire apartment. Marble floors, a chandelier worth more than my life, grand staircase splitting in 2 directions. Mr. Hamilton is in his study, Mrs. Kim said, already walking. The boys are in the east wing with their tutor. You'll meet them after the interview, if you make it that far. If not, when. We walked down a hallway lined with photographs. Pierre Hamilton and another man, Julian, on their wedding day. Young, happy, so in love it hurt to look at. Another photo. Julian, heavily pregnant, glowing, Pierre's hand on his swollen belly. No photos after that. Mrs. Kim stopped at a door, knocked once, and opened it. Mr. Hamilton, your 2 o'clock is here. I walked into the study. Pierre Hamilton sat behind a desk, and my first thought was, oh no. He was beautiful the way dangerous things are beautiful. Sharp jawline, ice blue eyes that cut right through you, dark hair perfectly styled, black suit tailored to perfection. Even sitting, I could tell he was tall. Alpha genetics at their finest. But his scent hit me hardest. Coffee and cedar and something darker. Something that woke my Omega instincts for the first time in years. Rich, commanding, overwhelming. My body reacted before my brain could stop it. Head tilting slightly, exposing my neck, the instinctive submission Omegas showed Alphas. I forced myself to stop, to meet his eyes, to stand straight. His eyes narrowed. He'd noticed. Alphas always did. Saurin Bernard, he said, voice deep and devoid of warmth. Sit. I sat. He picked up my application, scanning it with an expression that said I was wasting his time. 3 jobs. No childcare experience. Incomplete degree. Why exactly should I hire you? Straight to the point. Fine. Because I need this job. Because everyone else you've hired has failed, which means you're not looking for experience, you're looking for something else. And because I'm desperate enough to figure out what that is. Silence. He stared at me, expression unreadable. You're honest. That's either refreshing or foolish. I haven't decided which. Probably both, I said. The corner of his mouth twitched. Not a smile, but close to acknowledgement. My sons are 6 years old. Alpha quadruplets. Theo, Leo, Matthew, and Timmyo. Intelligent, strong-willed. And they've made it their mission to drive away every caregiver I've hired. The previous nanny lasted 4 hours. The one before that, 3 days. You have no experience. You look like you haven't slept in a week. And you're so desperate I can smell it. He leaned forward. Tell me why I shouldn't end this interview right now. My hands shook. I pressed them flat against my thighs. Because you're desperate too. You wouldn't have called me 2 hours after I applied if you weren't. You wouldn't be interviewing someone with 0 qualifications if you had better options. So here's the truth. I don't know anything about raising kids. I don't know why your sons keep chasing people away. But I know what it's like to be abandoned. And I know what it's like to need someone to stay, and I'm guessing that's what they're really testing for. The silence was suffocating. Pierre Hamilton's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Something like pain. You think you're different from the others? He asked, voice dangerously soft. No, I think I'm exactly the same. Scared, in over my head, probably going to fail. The difference is I'm honest about it. And I don't have anywhere else to go. He studied me for an eternity. My pulse hammered in my throat. My Omega instincts screaming to submit, to look away. I didn't. I held his gaze and let him see exactly how desperate I was. Come with me, he said suddenly, standing. If you're going to fail, you might as well meet them first. He walked past me, and I caught his scent again. That devastating combination that made my head spin. I followed him down another hallway, up a different staircase. The house was a maze. We stopped at a door. Pierre turned to me. They will test you. They will try to break you. They've perfected it into an art form. Most people quit before dinner. And if I don't? Then you'll quit tomorrow. Everyone does. He opened the door. The room was beautiful, hardwood floors, tall windows, shelves lined with books and toys. In the center, 4 identical boys looked up at us with matching ice blue eyes. Theo, Leo, Matthew, and Timmyo. 6 years old, already carrying their father's intensity. Boys, Pierre said, voice somehow even colder. This is Saurin Bernard. He's here for the nanny position. 4 sets of eyes evaluated me. After Pierre introduced each one, they delivered their verdict. He won't last, one said. Theo, the leader. Definitely not, another agreed. Leo, quieter but watchful. He looks tired, the third observed. Matthew, something almost sympathetic in his tone. He smells scared, the fourth added with a grin. Timmyo, the wild card. Pierre's jaw tightened. Dinner is at 6. Try not to destroy anything before then. He left, just walked out and closed the door, leaving me alone with 4 alpha children who'd already decided I was going to fail. I did the only thing I could think of. I sat down on the floor. You're right. I probably won't last. I've never been a nanny before. I don't know anything about kids. I'm terrified, exhausted, and way out of my depth. They stared at me. But here's the thing. I need this job. Like really need it. So I'm gonna try really hard not to mess this up. Which means you'll probably have to work extra hard to get rid of me. Fair. Silence. Then Timmyo giggled. What's wrong with your shoes? Matthew asked, pointing at my taped-together dress shoes. Broke. Can't afford new ones. You're poor. Theo asked, curious rather than judgmental. Very. Our dad is very rich, Leo said proudly. I noticed. Are you here because you want his money? Theo again, direct and challenging. I'm here because I need a job. But staying? That depends on whether you guys decide you hate me or not. They were conferring without words, some quadruplet telepathy. We have a test, Theo finally said. Of course you do. If you pass, we'll consider not completely destroying you today. How generous. What's the test? For identical smiles. My stomach dropped. You'll see, Timmyo said, promising chaos. The test involved a bucket of water balanced above the door. I saw it immediately, reached up and carefully took the bucket down. Nice try, but I grew up with a younger sister who thought she was a criminal mastermind. You'll have to be more creative. Theo's eyes narrowed. You were supposed to open the door. Why would I open a door I don't need to go through? What was the plan? I get soaked. Run out crying, you guys win. Usually they yell at us, Leo said quietly. Then they tell Papa we're monsters. Then Papa fires them and gets a new one. Matthew added, something sad in his voice. And the cycle continues. Timmyo finished with a shrug that tried to be careless but wasn't. Oh, these poor kids. So you're not trying to get rid of nannies. You're trying to find out who's going to stick around when things get hard. For pairs of eyes went wide. That's stupid, Theo said, voice cracking. We're just having fun, right? Fun. By testing whether adults actually care about you or just want your dad's money. For what it's worth. That's not stupid. That's survival. Silence. The kind that felt fragile. Why do you need money so bad? Matthew asked, genuine concern in his voice. My papa made bad choices. Gambling, mostly. Left my family with debt. Then my maman got sick. My sister is in school. So I work, send money home, and hope it's enough. Is it enough? Leo asked. Not really. That's why I'm here. Do you miss them? Timmyo asked. Every day. Haven't seen them in person in over a year. That's sad, Matthew said simply. And then he walked over and climbed into my lap. I froze, arms hovering awkwardly. He was small and warm and trusting. Matthew gets sad sometimes too, Timmyo explained. About Papa. Our other Papa. The one who died. We don't remember him much, Leo added. We were really little. But sometimes we miss him anyway, Theo said, voice no longer challenging. Just young. 6 years old and carrying too much. I carefully put my arms around Matthew, and he leaned into me like he'd been waiting for permission. That makes sense. You can miss someone you don't remember. You can miss the idea of them, the space they left behind. Do you think he would have liked us? Matthew asked, so soft I almost didn't hear. My heart cracked clean in half. I think he loved you before he even met you. I think he fought really hard to bring you into this world. And I think he'd be so proud of who you're becoming. Matthew started crying. Silent tears soaking into my shirt. I held him tighter, and suddenly Timmyo was there too, pressing against my side. Then Leo. Then even Theo, still trying to look tough but failing. For broken little boys who just wanted someone to see them. I sat there on the floor of that expensive room, holding these children I'd known for less than an hour, and thought, I can't leave them. No matter what happens, I can't be another person who walks away. The door opened. Pierre stood there, clearly expecting chaos, and instead found his 4 sons wrapped around a stranger, all of them crying. His expression did something complicated. What happened? His voice was sharp, alpha protective, and all 4 boys tensed. Nothing bad. We were just talking. It's okay. It's not okay. You've been here barely an hour, and you've upset them. We're not upset. Timmyo protested. We're just feeling things. Saurin says it's okay to miss Papa, Matthew added, still clinging to me. Our other Papa. Pierre went very still. The kind of still that meant something just hit a nerve. Boys, go wash up for dinner. They didn't move. Now. Reluctantly, they untangled themselves. Theo gave me a look that clearly said don't leave, and then they filed out. I stood up and faced Pierre Hamilton's ice-cold fury. You don't talk to them about Julian. That's not your place. They brought him up. I just didn't shut them down. They're children. They don't understand. They understand that you won't talk about him. They understand that their father is a ghost no one's allowed to mention. His jaw clenched. You know nothing about my family. You're right. I don't. But I know what it's like to have feelings you're not allowed to express. And I know those boys are desperate for someone to tell them it's okay to feel what they're feeling. What they're feeling, Pierre said, stepping close, using his height to intimidate, is manipulation. They're testing you. This is what they do. They find your weakness and exploit it. They're 6. I said flatly, they're not criminal masterminds. They're scared kids who keep losing the adults in their lives. You've been here less than an hour, he started, but I cut in. And I've already figured out more about your sons than you have in 4 years. The words came out harsher than I meant. Pierre's eyes flashed. His pheromones flooded the space. Coffee and cedar and anger and something that made my instincts scream danger and want in equal measure. And suddenly, I was very aware that I was an Omega who had just challenged an Alpha in his own home. You think you understand them? You think you can fix what's broken here? I think someone needs to try. And clearly, that someone isn't going to be you. For a second, I thought he was going to throw me out. Instead, he laughed. Bitter, hollow, the saddest sound I'd ever heard. Fine. 1-week trial. Room and board included, salary discussed if you make it that far. You'll stay in the West Wing, away from my private quarters. You'll follow my rules. And if you upset my sons again, I'll quit myself. I get it. I don't think you do. He turned toward the door. Dinner is at 6. Don't be late. Your housekeeper already told me that. He paused, glanced back. You're either very brave or very stupid, Saurin Bernard. Probably both, I said, echoing my earlier words. This time I definitely saw his mouth twitch. Then he was gone. And I was alone in a room that still smelled like children's tears and alpha dominance. Mrs. Kim appeared in the doorway like she'd been summoned. Well, that went better than expected. He almost fired me, but he didn't. That's progress. She gestured for me to follow. Come on. I'll show you to your room. I followed her through the maze of hallways. The boys like you, Mrs. Kim said. That's rare. Most nannies they've decided to hate within 5 minutes. They're good kids. Just lonely. Lonely. Yes, that's exactly what they are. She stopped at a door, pulled out a key. This is you. West Wing. Bathroom en suite. Dinner is casual tonight, just family. Try not to overthink it. She handed me the key and started to leave, then paused. Saurin? That thing you said about the boys testing for who'll stay? You're the first person to see that. Don't waste it. Then she was gone, and I was standing in a bedroom bigger than my entire apartment. I sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out my phone. 17 missed calls from Amelie. I texted. Done with the interview. Went okay. We'll call soon. Love you. Her response was immediate. Saurin. Call me. I turned off my phone. 45 minutes until dinner. 45 minutes to figure out how to survive a meal with 4 precocious alpha children and their emotionally unavailable father. I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror and felt something that almost resembled hope. Maybe I could do this. Maybe I could be what these boys needed. Maybe I could survive Pierre Hamilton's cold distance and devastating scent and the way he looked at me like I was both a problem and a solution he didn't want. I splashed water on my face and headed to dinner. After all, I'd already made it further than most. Dinner was in a formal dining room that could seat 20 but only held 6 place settings. 4 small chairs clustered together, Pierre at the head, and 1 empty chair. The moment I sat down, something cold and slimy touched my hand. I looked down to find a plastic spider the size of my palm on my napkin. Oh look, you guys have a pet. What's his name? Timmyo's face fell. You're supposed to scream. Why would I scream? He's clearly fake. Real ones have 8 legs that move independently. I set the spider on the table. Also, if you're going for genuine fear response, you need the element of surprise. For jaws dropped, Pierre, sitting at the head with a wine glass in hand, made a sound that might have been a suppressed laugh. You know about spiders? Leo asked. My sister went through a phase. She had a tarantula named Princess Fluffybottom. Trust me, after that, nothing phases you. Princess Fluffybottom, Matthew repeated, giggling. Your sister sounds cool, Timmyo said. She's a menace. You'd like her. Mrs. Kim appeared with soup that smelled incredible and made my stomach growl loudly. When did you last eat? Pierre asked, something sharp in his question. Yesterday morning, I think. Time gets weird when you work 3 jobs. His expression went cold. You came to an interview having not eaten in 2 days? I came because I needed the job more than I needed food. I picked up my spoon and hesitated. Can I eat this? Or is it part of the test? Actually, Theo put salt in yours instead of pepper, Leo said. Theo's eyes went wide. Leo. I switched my bowl with Pierre's. Pierre raised an eyebrow. That's mine. And now it's mine, because I'm not eating oversalted soup when I'm already starving. I took a spoonful. Perfect. Also, Leo, next time use something less obvious. Leo actually smiled. You're smart. I'm desperate. There's a difference. The main course arrived, chicken that looked restaurant quality. I cut into it. Rubber. All 4 boys watched me with barely contained glee. You know what? I respect the commitment. This took planning. Where'd you even get fake chicken? Internet, Matthew said. Papa's credit card. Pierre choked on his wine. You did what? We needed supplies for science, Theo said innocently. How much did you spend? Pierre asked, voice dangerous. Only $300. We got other stuff too. For future tests. Pierre closed his eyes, took a deep breath. We're discussing this later. Mrs. Kim reappeared with a real plate of food for me. Actual chicken this time. Thank you. Though the fake one was impressive. Don't encourage them, Pierre muttered. Too late, all 4 boys said in unison. I ate real food while the boys peppered me with questions. Where was I from? What were my jobs? Did I have any pets? Had I ever been arrested? No, I've never been arrested. Why would you even ask that? The last nanny was arrested, Leo said casually. For fraud. Papa's hiring process is not great, Theo concluded. Pierre's jaw tightened. My hiring process is fine. You hired a criminal, Timmyo pointed out accusingly. I hired a woman with excellent references who turned out to be using a fake identity, Pierre defended. Is there a difference, though? I asked before I could stop myself. Pierre's eyes snapped to mine. Do you have a fake identity, Saurin? No. I'm exactly who I say I am. Broke, desperate, and in way over my head. But at least I'm honest about it. Something flickered in his expression, almost like respect. Dessert, Mrs. Kim announced, setting down the chocolate cake. I reached for my fork. It was glued to the table. Really? Superglue, Timmyo said proudly. Industrial strength. How am I supposed to eat the cake without a fork? You're not, Theo said. That's the point. You will get frustrated, yell at us, and then quit. Or, I said, picking up the plate. I use my hands like an uncivilized person. I took a bite directly from the plate. The boys stared. Pierre was definitely trying not to smile now. You're weird, Matthew said. But it sounded like a compliment. Most people would be mad, Leo said. I'm too tired to be mad. And honestly, you guys are kind of funny. Also, this cake is incredible. Timmyo started laughing. Then all 4 were giggling. And even Pierre's cold expression cracked into something almost warm. Okay, Theo said. You can stay. For now. How generous. After dessert, Mrs. Kim collected the boys for bath time, and suddenly it was just me and Pierre. You handled that well, he said finally. I survived. There's a difference. Most people don't survive the first dinner. Most people probably have better options than I do. Saurin. His voice stopped me at the door. Why didn't you get angry? I turned back. Because they're not trying to upset me. They're trying to figure out if I'll stay when things get hard. And getting mad at kids for being scared of abandonment is the worst thing I could do. He stood, and suddenly the space between us felt smaller. His scent hit me again. That devastating combination that made my Omega instincts sing. You see too much, he said quietly. Or you hide too much. Careful, Omega. You work for me. That means boundaries. I'm aware. Are you? For a moment, something flickered between us. Something electric and dangerous. Then Pierre stepped back, face shuddering closed. Your room. Now, the boys are on a schedule, breakfast at 7, lessons at 8. You'll shadow them tomorrow. Don't be late. I left before I could say something stupid. The first week trial was hell. Day 1. I woke to find all my clothes in the garden fountain, soaking wet. Laundry mishap, Theo said innocently at breakfast, while I wore my damp interview clothes. Day 2, they locked me in the supply closet for 3 hours. Mrs. Kim finally found me when she heard my hoarse calls. They're testing your patience, she said, handing me water. Don't give up yet. Day 3, they were angels. Perfect, sweet, cooperative. We had a wonderful day of reading, games, and laughter. I went to bed thinking maybe I'd finally broken through. Day 4. I woke to my room covered in shaving cream. Everything. The bed, walls, windows, shoes. 8 cans worth of Pierre's supply. You were too happy yesterday, Leo explained at breakfast. We needed to make sure you weren't faking. I sat there covered in dried shaving cream, eating toast with trembling hands, wondering if this job was worth my sanity. Pierre actually looked at me that morning. You're still here. Barely, I responded. Day 5 was a minefield of small torments. Salt in my coffee, plastic wrap on the toilet seat, phone hidden in the freezer, homework accidentally destroyed, forcing me to help them redo it for 3 hours. By dinner, I was ready to cry. We're just having fun, Leo said, watching me carefully. This isn't fun. This is cruelty. And I know you're better than this. For pairs of eyes went wide. Matthew's lip trembled. We're not cruel. Then stop acting like you are. I'm not your enemy. I'm just trying to survive here. Same as you. I left the table and genuinely considered packing. Day 6. I woke to 4 boys sitting outside my door. We're sorry, Theo said stiffly. We were mean. We didn't think you'd stay this long, Leo added. So we kept testing, Matthew said, tears in his eyes. But we don't want you to leave. We were scared, Timmyo admitted quietly, that you'd leave anyway, like everyone does. I sat down in the hallway with them. I'm not leaving, not because the week's almost over, because you're worth staying for, even when you're being little terrors. Really? Matthew asked. Yes. They piled on me, and I held them while they cried and apologized. Pierre found us like that. Congratulations, Saurin. You passed. The job is yours if you want it. I want it, I said without hesitation. Good. My office after breakfast. We'll discuss salary and benefits. Week 4 arrived quickly. I learned their patterns. Theo was the strategist. Leo was the quiet observer. Matthew was pure emotion. Timmyo was chaos incarnate with hidden softness. I learned Pierre's patterns too. Up at 5 for his morning run. Coffee at 5:30. Black. No sugar. Then he disappeared into his study until dinner. He avoided his sons. Not obviously, he asked about their day, reviewed their schoolwork. But he never stayed long. Never tucked them in. Never read bedtime stories or played games. The boys pretended not to notice. I noticed enough for all of us. Week 5, I made my first mistake. Why doesn't Papa love us? Matthew asked one night during story time. He does love you, I said automatically. Then why doesn't he show it? Theo challenged. He barely talks to us. I didn't have an answer. Pierre appeared in the doorway. His expression was carved from ice. Bedtime. Now. The boys scrambled under their covers. My office. 5 minutes. I knocked with shaking hands. Come in. He sat behind his desk, backlit by the window. You've been here a month. The boys are attached to you. That's good. But you're overstepping. They asked a question you had no right to answer. My relationship with my sons is not your concern. It is when they're crying themselves to sleep, wondering why their father won't touch them. Pierre's eyes flashed dangerously. You think you understand this family after 4 weeks? I understand those boys need their father, and he's too scared to give them what they need. Scared. He laughed, bitter and cold. You know nothing about fear. Don't I? I stepped closer. I'm terrified every single day. Terrified I'll fail them. Terrified this job will end. Terrified I'm getting attached to children who aren't mine and never will be. But I show up anyway. I try anyway. What's your excuse? His pheromones flooded the room, making me recoil. My excuse is that I failed their father. I wasn't there when Julian needed me most. So forgive me if I'm not eager to fail them too. The pain in his voice nearly broke me. You're already failing them, I said quietly. By not trying. He stood abruptly and suddenly we were too close. Get out. I left before I could make it worse. Week 6, something shifted. I came downstairs Monday morning to find Pierre at the table with the boys. Actually sitting with them. Actually talking. Saurin, Papa's eating with us. Timmyo called. Pierre's ears turned slightly red. I have a late meeting. Thought I'd have breakfast with my sons. Is that allowed? The question was directed at me, sharp with challenge. Of course. This is your house. Thank you for reminding me. But he stayed. the whole breakfast. And when Matteo asked about his work, Pierre actually explained it in terms a 6-year-old could understand. The boys glowed under his attention. After breakfast, Pierre stopped me in the hallway. You were right about me being scared. I've been avoiding them because looking at them hurts. They have Julian's smile, his laugh, and I don't know how to be what they need without him. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. He looked at me then, and something in his expression made my breath catch. How did you get so wise, Saurin Bernard? Desperation. It's very motivating. He almost smiled. Wow, you've made it this far. If you're enjoying the story and still haven't subscribed, please take a second to do so. It means a lot. Also, drop a comment and let us know where you're listening from. Alright, let's get back to the story. By week 7, the boundaries between us started blurring. Pierre joined breakfast every morning, started reading bedtime stories twice a week, played chess with Theo, built robots with Leo, painted with Matteo, wrestled with Timmyo. I watched him transform from a distant ghost into something resembling a father, and tried to ignore how that made me feel. Tried to ignore how my heart jumped when he entered a room, how his scent had become comforting instead of intimidating. We developed a rhythm, professional, appropriate, except for the moments that weren't. His hand on my shoulder when he thanked me for helping Matteo through a nightmare. The way his eyes lingered when I left. Mrs. Kim noticed. You're good for them. All of them. I'm just doing my job. Sweetheart, you stopped just doing your job around week 2. You love those boys. I did. God help me, I did. Week 8. Everything came crashing down. Pierre's business associate arrived. Victoria Lynn, all sharp suits and sharper smiles. Pierre, darling, she purred, kissing his cheek. It's been too long. The boys immediately went quiet. They knew her, and they hated her. Victoria, I wasn't expecting you. I was in the neighborhood. Thought I'd drop by, discuss the merger. Her eyes landed on me. And who's this? New nanny? He's lasted longer than the others. The dismissal in her voice was clear. Saurin's been invaluable, Pierre said. Something protective in his tone that made Victoria's eyes narrow. I'm sure. Shall we discuss business? Privately, they disappeared into his study. The boys and I continued with art, but the mood was ruined. She wants to marry Papa, Leo said quietly. What? She told us once. Said she'd make a much better parent than a glorified babysitter. Theo added. She made the last nanny quit by telling her Papa was just using her. That he'd never actually care about an Omega employee. My stomach dropped. Good thing I'm not here for that. I'm here for you guys. But the seed of doubt had been planted. That night, I heard raised voices from Pierre's study. When Victoria finally left, Pierre found me in the boys' room. Can we talk? We stepped into the hallway. He looked exhausted. Victoria's pushing for a merger that would require significant changes, including potential relocation. My heart stopped. Relocation? Possibly. Nothing's decided. But it might mean moving the boys, disrupting their routine. You mean finding a new nanny? He met my eyes. I don't want to disrupt what's working. The boys are happy, settled, because of you. But business is business. Saurin, it's fine. I knew this was temporary. That's not what I want. The intensity in his voice stopped me. Then what do you want? He stepped closer, and suddenly the hallway felt too small. I don't know, but it's not you leaving. We stood there, too close, both knowing we'd crossed some invisible line. Then Matteo called from the bedroom, nightmare, and the moment shattered. I went to Matteo. Pierre disappeared into his study, and I lay awake that night, wondering what the hell I was doing. Falling for a man I could never have. 3 months passed before we talked about it. Pierre's birthday arrived on a cold November morning, and he pretended it didn't exist. Saurin, we need your help, Theo said after breakfast. Papa's birthday is today, and he always ignores it. Every year since Papa Julian died, Leo added quietly. It was their special day, Matteo explained. They always celebrated together. Now Papa pretends it doesn't matter. But it does matter. We want to make him happy. Will you help us? How could I say no? We spent the day in secret preparation. Mrs. Kim smuggled us into the kitchen where we baked a lopsided chocolate cake. Julian's recipe. The boys made cards. We hung decorations in the dining room. Pierre came down for dinner expecting routine. Instead, he walked into a transformed dining room, streamers, balloons, 4 boys in their best clothes, and a homemade cake with candles. He stopped in the doorway, frozen. "Surprise!" the boys shouted, voices wavering with uncertainty. Pierre's face did something complicated. For a terrible moment, I thought he was going to leave. Then Theo started crying. "Please don't be mad. We just wanted you to know we love you. Even if Papa Julian isn't here, we're still here, and your birthday still matters." Pierre moved. Fast. He dropped to his knees and pulled Theo into his arms, then reached for the others, gathering all 4 boys against his chest. And then Pierre Hamilton broke. He cried. Years of grief poured out while his sons clung to him. I backed toward the door, but Pierre's voice stopped me. "Stay, please." So I stayed. Finally, Pierre pulled himself together enough to speak. "I'm sorry. I've been a terrible father. I was so afraid of losing you the way I lost your papa that I pushed you away. But that's not what Julian would have wanted." "Papa Julian wouldn't be disappointed," Leo said firmly. "He'd understand. But we need you," Theo added. "Not the sad version. We know you miss him. We miss him too. But we're still a family, right?" Theo asked. "You, us, and Saurin," Timmyo insisted. Pierre's eyes found mine, and something in his expression made my breath catch. "Yes, we're still a family." They ate cake. Terrible, lopsided, perfect cake. And Pierre actually laughed when Timmyo got frosting in his hair. The boys told him about their days, their dreams, their fears, and he listened. After the boys were in bed, Pierre found me in the library where I was pretending to read. "Thank you for today. For them." He sat in the chair across from me, looking exhausted but lighter somehow. "I didn't do anything. That was all them. You helped them believe it was worth trying." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I need to tell you something. About Julian. About that day." I closed my book. "You don't have to." "I do. Because you're part of this family now, whether either of us planned for that or not." He took a deep breath. "Julian and I met when we were 14. He was this brilliant, bright Omega who somehow saw something in the angry, poor alpha kid from the wrong side of town. We got married at 22. He wanted children desperately. We tried for years before it finally happened. Quadruplets. Against all odds." His voice cracked. "The pregnancy was high risk. The doctors warned us. But Julian was determined. He said these babies were our miracle." "Pierre," I said softly, seeing where this was going. "The day he went into labor, I was in Tokyo, closing a deal. He called me, told me it was time, that I needed to come home. I promised I'd be on the next flight." Tears tracked down his face. "But there were complications. The flight was delayed, then canceled. By the time I got back 18 hours later, he was gone. They'd saved the boys. But Julian died alone asking for me. And I wasn't there. That's not your fault, isn't it? I chose business over him. You chose to secure your family's future. You didn't know. I should have known. That morning, something in my gut told me to get on a plane immediately. But I ignored it. I thought I had time." His voice broke. "I was wrong. And he paid for my mistake with his life." He buried his face in his hands. "When I finally got to the hospital, they handed me 4 crying babies and told me my husband was gone. I looked at those boys. So small, so perfect. And all I could think was that they cost me everything. Pierre. Every time I look at them, I see what I lost. Everything he was. Reflected in 4 faces I can barely stand to acknowledge because it hurts so much." He looked at me with devastated eyes. "You asked me once what I was afraid of. This. Loving them the way they deserve and losing them anyway. Failing them the way I failed Julian. My heart shattered for this broken man. Julian didn't disappear because you failed him. He died because sometimes terrible things happen. Those boys aren't what you lost. They're what Julian left behind. His gift to you. His legacy. His love made real. I don't know how to do this. How to be what they need. You start by showing up. By trying. By forgiving yourself for being human." I moved to kneel in front of him, taking his hands. "You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present." His hands tightened around mine, and he pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe. I held him while he calmed down. After a few minutes, he pulled back. "And what do you want, Saurin?" His voice dropped low. "I want them to be happy. I want you to heal. I want to be part of something that matters. You matter. To them. To me. More than you should. More than is appropriate. Pierre? I breathed warning and plea. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you don't feel this too. Couldn't, because he wasn't wrong. This is a bad idea, I whispered. Terrible. You're my boss. This could ruin everything. I know. The boys need stability. I know. Then why are you looking at me like that? Because I don't know how to stop. Because you've brought light back into this house. Because my sons love you. Because A crash from upstairs. Matthew's voice, crying out. We sprang apart like we'd been burned. Pierre was up the stairs before I could move, and I followed, heart racing. Matthew had fallen out of bed, tangled in sheets, crying from a nightmare. Pierre scooped him up with practiced ease, murmuring comfort. Papa? You came. Of course I came. I'll always come when you need me. I promise. The other boys woke up, concerned. Pierre settled them all, telling them a story about Julian, brave, kind, funny Julian who would have loved them so much. He stayed until they fell back asleep, and I watched from the doorway, seeing the father he was finally becoming. When he came out, we stood in the hallway, the almost kiss hanging between us unfinished. This conversation isn't over. I know, but they come first. Always. I know that too. He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. A gesture so tender it made my chest ache. You're dangerous, Saurin Bernard. You make me want things I have no right to want. Then maybe we should both stop wanting them, I said, even as I leaned into his touch. Maybe. Or maybe we should figure out how to want them safely. He left me standing there, trembling and confused and falling for a man I absolutely could not have. I returned to my room, climbed into bed, and stared at the ceiling. Everything had changed tonight. The question was whether that change would save us or destroy us. I fell asleep not knowing the answer, but knowing with absolute certainty that there was no going back now. Month 4 started quietly with tension still between us. All was going great until Victoria returned and started coming to dinner more frequently. The Tokyo merger needs immediate oversight, she announced over dinner, her presence making the boys go quiet. 6 months minimum, possibly a year. Pierre, you'd need to relocate. The boys are settled here, Pierre said carefully. Hire additional staff. Or bring them. Tokyo has excellent schools. Her eyes slid to me with thinly veiled contempt. I'm sure the nanny can adapt, if he's even still here by then. The boys protested loudly, but she smiled through it, unbothered. She found me later in the library, heels clicking deliberately against marble. For months, you've outlasted all the others. I'm almost impressed. I didn't respond, kept my eyes on the book I wasn't really reading. You know what I find fascinating? How quickly you've settled in. Designer clothes, a room in a mansion. Must feel like quite the upgrade. Her laugh was sharp. Tell me, Saurin, how long are you planning to hold on? How tight are you willing to grip before Pierre realizes what you're really after? I'm not after anything. Please. You're a desperate Omega who saw an opportunity and took it. Eventually, he'll see you for what you are. Someone clinging to a life that was never meant to be theirs. She paused at the door. The tragic part? You probably actually believe you care about those boys. But we both know when your family comes calling with their hands out again, you'll show your true colors. Gold diggers always do. She left, and I sat there, her words wrapping around my throat like a noose. That evening, my phone rang. Amelie's name flashed on the screen. I almost didn't answer. Saurin. Her voice was thick with tears. It's Maman. The cancer they discovered another. She needs another surgery. Immediately. And Papa's creditors are threatening to take the house. Stop. I'll figure something out. How? Saurin. Where are we going to get that kind of money? I didn't have an answer. I could ask Pierre. He'd given me money before for Maman's first surgery. Called it employee benefits. He'd probably do it again. But that was before Victoria's words. Before I understood how it looked. If I asked now, I'd prove her right. Gold diggers always do. The next morning, I was hollow-eyed and shaking. Pierre noticed immediately. You okay? Just thinking about my family. How are they doing? Better. Thanks to you. The words tasted like ash. He pulled me close, pressed a kiss to my forehead. If you need anything, don't hesitate. I nodded without saying anything. That evening, Victoria appeared in the garden. You look worse than yesterday. Let me guess. Family called? More money problems. She sat beside me. So you're stuck now, aren't you? Need money. But can't ask for it without proving everything I said about you. My hands clenched into fists. I have a proposal. She pulled out an envelope. 50,000 euros. Enough to solve your crisis. My heart stopped. Why would you? Because I'm practical. You need money. I need you gone. This solves both problems. You take this money, save your family, and disappear from Pierre's life. They'll forget you eventually, but your mother won't survive without this surgery. She stood, left the envelope on the bench. You have until midnight to decide. I spent the rest of the day in agony, playing with the boys, memorizing their faces. Then I looked at Amelie's last message. Saurin, the hospital needs an answer by tomorrow. Please. My mother was dying. My sister was desperate. My family was falling apart. And I was sitting in a mansion, agonizing over pride while they suffered. I started packing around 11 p.m. Wrote letters with tears blurring the ink. But as I wrote, something crystallized. If I took Victoria's money and ran, I was still proving I was here for money. The method didn't matter, the result was the same. But if I stayed, if I asked Pierre for help, at least I'd know. I'd see his reaction. See if this thing between us was real enough to survive me being exactly what Victoria said. Desperate and needing help. If he said no, if it destroyed everything, at least I'd have been honest. And if he said yes, then maybe Victoria was wrong about everything. I looked at the check one last time, then tore it into pieces. My hands were still shaking as I walked toward Pierre's study. Light showed under his door. I knocked. Come in. I opened the door, forced myself to meet his eyes. I need to talk to you. It's important. He looked up, expression shifting to concern. Saurin? What's wrong? I need money. An advance on my salary. 50,000 euros. Pierre set down his pen. Consider it done. I'll have it transferred first thing in the morning. I stared at him. That's it? Just like that? You need the money. What else would I say? You could say no. You could ask questions. You could think I'm using you. Understanding dawned on his face. Victoria got to you. She just said what everyone's probably thinking. That I'm a desperate Omega who saw an opportunity and took it. That's when my family needs money. I come running to the billionaire with my hand out like a gold digger? Pierre supplied quietly, standing up. Yes. How can you give me this money and not think that's exactly what I am? Pierre came around the desk, stopped in front of me. Do you want to know what I think? I think Victoria is a manipulative woman who saw something growing between us and decided to poison it before it could bloom. But she's not wrong. She is wrong. His hands came up to cup my face. You want to know how I know? Because a real gold digger would have asked for this money months ago and wouldn't be standing here looking like they expect me to throw them out. Tears burned my eyes. Either way, I'm here for your money. No, you're here because you fell in love with my sons. You're still here because somewhere along the way, this stopped being about a job and started being about family. Pierre, I'm not going to Tokyo. I turned down the merger this morning. Told Victoria to handle it herself. My breath caught. But the business. My sons need stability. They need you. And so do I. You don't need me. You could get someone better. Someone appropriate. I don't want someone appropriate. I want you. You who makes this house feel like a home again. You who makes me feel alive for the first time in 6 years. Pierre. We can't. Then what do you want, Saurin? I want to stay. I want to wake up here every morning. I want you to keep looking at me the way you're looking at me right now. Like I matter. You do matter. His hands slid to my neck. You matter so much it terrifies me. Because I swore after Julian that I'd never let anyone in again. But you walked into my life and demolished every defense I had. The air between us felt charged. The boys. I started weakly. Come first. Always. But they love you. Theo asked me last week if you were going to be their papa too. My heart hammered. And now I'm hoping you'll let me do this right. Let me help your family. Let me take care of you. Let me love you. If you'll have me. Pierre. Is that a yes? Instead of answering with words, I closed the distance between us and kissed him. It started gentle. A soft press of lips. A question. But then Pierre made a low sound and pulled me closer, and gentle became desperate. His hands slid into my hair. My hands fisted in his shirt. His alpha scent intensified, and I felt my pheromones respond. He groaned against my mouth. Saurin. He breathed, then kissed me again deeper. You have no idea how long I've wanted. I cut him off with another kiss. His hands moved to my waist, pulled me flush against him. We kissed until we were both breathless, until the only thing that existed was the two of us. Finally, reluctantly, Pierre pulled back just enough to look at me. His eyes were dark with desire. We should stop, before I forget every good intention I have. What if I don't want you to stop? If we don't stop now, I'm going to want things we're not ready for. Things that should wait until we've talked to the boys. You're right. I forced myself to step back. We should be smart about this. I laughed shakily. So what happens now? Now I will transfer money tomorrow. You call your family, and we take this slow. We do it right. For them. For us. Together. Together. No more running. He pulled me close again, just holding me. And Saurin? Thank you for being brave enough to ask. Thank you for not making me regret it. I whispered against his chest. We stood there for a long moment, and I felt something settle in my chest. Something that felt like hope and home and happiness. This was dangerous. This was complicated. This was everything I'd been afraid to want. But standing there in Pierre's arms, I couldn't bring myself to regret it. Not anymore. Everything changed the next morning. I woke to shouting. Pierre's voice, cold and furious, echoed from downstairs. Victoria's sharp responses cut through the air. By the time I got the boys to breakfast, Pierre was at the table, jaw clenched, a legal document in front of him. What's wrong? Theo asked nervously. Nothing you need to worry about. But Pierre's knuckles were white around his coffee cup. Victoria appeared in the doorway, perfectly composed. Boys, say goodbye to your father. He has business in Tokyo that can't wait. You said Papa didn't have to go. Matthew's voice cracked. Plans change, sweetheart. 3 weeks. Maybe a month. No. Pierre stood. I told you I'm not going. The board disagrees. Check your email, they voted. Either you oversee this merger personally, or you lose your seat. She adjusted her purse. I'll see you at the airport tomorrow. 8 a.m. sharp. She left, and the silence was deafening. Pierre looked at his sons. Their devastated faces, and something in him shattered. I have to go, but only for 2 weeks. I promise. You're leaving us again, Leo whispered. No, I'm coming back. As soon as I can. But the boys didn't believe him. I could see it in their eyes. That night, after Pierre explained everything, after he held them and made promises, he found me in my room. Come with me. To Tokyo. You and the boys. Pierre, they just got settled. Their school, their routine. I know. You're right. He ran his hands through his hair. The thought of being away from them. From you. After finally figuring this out. 2 weeks. You go handle Victoria's power play. Come back. We'll be here. Promise. I promise. We're not going anywhere. He kissed me then, desperate and claiming, and I kissed him back with everything I had. The 2 weeks were hell. Pierre called twice daily. Morning for the boys, night for me. The boys counted down days on a calendar. Victoria sent photos of Pierre at business dinners with beautiful people who made me feel small and inadequate. Then Amelie called. Maman wants to meet your employer. And these boys you keep talking about. She's well enough to travel now. Can we visit this weekend? My family. Meeting Pierre's world. The collision felt inevitable and terrifying. Of course. I called Pierre that night. My family wants to visit. This weekend. Silence. Then good. I want to meet them. Pierre. Saurin, if we're doing this, really doing this, they're part of it. I want to meet the people who made you who you are. Pierre returned on a Friday. The boys tackled him at the door, all four clinging like he might disappear again. He held them for a long time, whispering promises. His eyes found mine over their heads. I'm home. Those 2 words meant everything. That evening, after the boys were asleep, we sat together in the library. Victoria tried everything. Sabotage, manipulation, even attempted seduction. She couldn't understand why none of it worked. Why I wouldn't stay. Why didn't it work? He pulled me closer. Because home isn't a place anymore. It's 4 boys who need their father. And an Omega who somehow made me believe in second chances. Pierre. I love you. The words came out rough, scared. I don't know when it happened, but I love you. And I need you to know that before your family arrives. Couldn't breathe. You love me. Terrifyingly so. I love you too. I whispered. He pulled me into a kiss that tasted like promises and forever. Your family arrives tomorrow, he said when we finally broke apart. And I'm going to ask your mother for permission to court you properly. Is that okay? I laughed through tears. You're a billionaire alpha asking permission to court a broke Omega. This is absurd. This is us. We've been absurd from the start. After your family leaves, we tell the boys. Carefully. Together. Together. I agreed. Saturday arrived with nervous energy. Maman and Amelie's train pulled in at noon. When we arrived at the estate, 4 boys tumbled out the front door, Pierre following. Maman took one look at Pierre, assessing maternal, then turned to the boys. Which one of you is the troublemaker? Me. Timmyo raised his hand proudly. We're all troublemakers, Leo said seriously. But Saurin makes us better ones. Maman laughed, and tension I didn't know I was holding released. Lunch was chaos, good chaos. The boys showed Amelie everything. Pierre and Maman spoke quietly in French, and I caught enough to know she was interrogating him thoroughly. That evening, Pierre asked to speak with Maman privately. I paced the hallway like an expectant father. When they emerged 30 minutes later, Maman was crying. Pierre looked relieved. Your mother has given me permission to court you properly, Pierre said. With conditions. So many conditions, Maman added, but she was smiling. He's acceptable, Saurin. Barely. That night, we gathered the boys in their room. All 4 of them plus Amelie. We need to talk to you about something important, Pierre started. About Saurin. And me. And our family. Saurin and I care about each other. A lot. The way adults do when they fall in love. Silence. Then, we know, Theo said. You what? I stammered. You think we're dumb? You look at each other all googly. Leo added. Super googly, Timmyo confirmed. Does this mean Saurin stays forever? Theo interrupted. Like, actually forever? There is no one better, Pierre said firmly. And yes, if Saurin wants to stay, he stays forever. Do you want to stay? For voices, asking in unison. I looked at these boys I'd fallen completely in love with. Pierre, who'd become home. At my sister and mother, smiling tearfully from the doorway. Yes, forever sounds perfect. Can we call you Papa too? Matthew asked shyly. We already have Papa Pierre. But maybe you could be Papa Saurin. My throat closed completely. We talked about it, Leo explained. We want 2 papas. Not to replace Papa Julian, but to add to our family. Because that's what you are. Family. We love you, Timmyo said simply. So you should be our papa officially. I looked at Pierre, completely overwhelmed. He was crying, not bothering to hide it. I would be honored. So honored. They dogpiled me then. 4 boys and 1 teenage girl, all talking over each other. Pierre pulled us all close, his family, and I felt something settle in my chest. Something that felt like belonging, like home, like everything I'd been searching for without knowing it. And surrounded by chaos and love and the family I'd somehow found in the most unexpected place. I finally understood what forever meant. It meant this, exactly this. 6 months later, the adoption papers sat on Pierre's desk, official and binding, for signatures from 4 boys. 2 signatures from 2 fathers who'd never expected this second chance. It's official. You're legally their parent now. We're legally their parents, I corrected. Together. He kissed me soft and sweet. Life had settled into something beautifully chaotic. Theo won chess tournaments. Leo conquered his fear of storms. Matthew's art covered the refrigerator. And Timmyo convinced us to adopt a puppy currently destroying Pierre's expensive shoes. Papa Saurin, Papa Pierre. Come see. We found all 4 boys in the living room, surrounded by poster board and markers. We made a family tree for school, Theo announced proudly. The tree was elaborate. Pierre and Julian at the top, connected by a heart. Below them, for boys, and next to Pierre, connected by another heart, was me. Papa Julian is still family, Leo explained. He's watching from heaven and he's happy we have you now. He gave us life, Matthew added softly. But you teach us how to live. My vision blurred. Pierre's hand found mine. It's perfect. You're all perfect. We know, Timmyo said, making us all laugh. That evening, Pierre pulled me close in the library. Your mother called. She wants to know when we're making this official. When I'm bonding you properly. Apparently, 6 months is sufficient time to stop being cowards. My heart raced. Are you? I'm asking if you'll marry me, Saurin Bernard. If you'll accept my bonding mark and become my mate. Yes. The word came out choked. Yes, absolutely yes. He kissed me deeply, alpha instincts rising, claiming, protecting, loving. We'll do it right. Proper ceremony, the boys involved, your family there. I don't need all that. But you deserve it. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you know that. Epilogue 1 year later. I stood in the doorway watching Pierre read bedtime stories to the boys. They were 7 now, bigger, smarter, still mischievous. My hand rested on my stomach, where our daughter grew, due in 4 months. The boys had already decorated the nursery and promised to be the best big brothers in history. Papa Saurin, are you crying again? Matthew called out. Pregnancy hormones. We never ignore you, Leo said seriously. That would be rude. Pierre smiled. Come here. I joined them on the massive bed. And immediately 4 boys and 1 alpha rearranged themselves to accommodate me and my growing belly. Tell the baby about Papa Julian, Timmyo requested. So we did. We told stories about brave, kind Julian who'd given everything to bring them into the world. About how love doesn't end, it expands. About how families come in all forms. And that's how Papa Saurin came to us, Theo finished. Because we needed him. And he needed us. And sometimes the best families are the ones you find. Not find, I corrected gently. Choose. We chose each other. Every single day, Pierre added, pulling us all close. And as I sat there surrounded by my chaotic, beautiful family. For mischievous boys, one devoted alpha, and a daughter on the way. I sent a silent thank you to the universe that had led me here, to the eviction notice that forced me to apply, to the boys who tested me until I proved myself, to Pierre who taught me that second chances are real, and to love, stubborn, unexpected, transformative love, that turned a desperate job application into a forever home. The end. Thank you so much for reading Saurin and Pierre's journey. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe for more emotional tales. What was your favorite moment? Was it when the boys first accepted Saurin? When Pierre finally broke down? Or the sweet ending with their growing family? Drop a comment below. I read every single one and love hearing what resonated with you. Remember, sometimes the family you choose becomes the greatest love story of all. Until next time, keep believing in second chances. Red Heart, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the story, tell us your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Until next time, keep daydreaming in BL.